Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from the Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional. Strap in. The show starts right now.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I am Mike. The man to my right is Evo, and we are here on a beautiful Saturday. It is cold as shit here in Ohio, but it is a great day. There is football on. We are going to have Army-Navy updates. Go Army, beat Navy. We've got a big show, week 14. All of your football picks and bets are coming in from us. We're also going to recap the wild shit that has gone on in Major League Baseball over the last over the last week, because there have been a shitload of signings, a lot of money getting spent, but I'm just excited to be here. I got a drink. I got this delicious champagne margarita that producer Amber was like, you know what? This looks good. We're going to make some of these. I got a little 6-pack of beer here as well. I'm ready for the fucking day to get started. Evo, how you doing? How's the weekend gone so far? You got anything done so far?
No, it's been pretty boring for me. Just spent the morning after waking up doing some research for today's show, getting my football stats done and whatnot. And other than that, weekend sounds like it's going to just be winter festivities. Heading up to Tucson to the Winter Haven neighborhood. Probably to look at some lights maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Ready for some football though. We got good football today. Our Army Navy game. So go Army. Of course, got to rep that. And then got
was that a fucking PT shirt that I just saw you wearing?
I mean, I don't got like Army swag otherwise, so I got to wear what I got. That still fits. So yeah, ready for that game. Ready for some NFL football tomorrow. Should be a exciting day tomorrow for the NFL as well.
So this weekend's gonna be really good. Got a lot of games that I think are going to be factors coming down the stretch on playoff positioning, who's where. My Browns are in one of those games this week, so I'm excited to talk about that. But yeah, a lot of good football, and talking about some festivities. We went out and did some festivities last night. Went to the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo for some zoo lights. I had a lot of fun. I had some vitamins before we went. I was like, this is going to be the perfect time for this, because the zoo lights are going to be super badass while we're going through. And it did not disappoint. I had a great time. The kids had fun. We went out to dinner afterward, down in the flats, found this little bar. They were actually doing karaoke while we were in there. So we got to eat. Kids had fun. Producer Amber got up and sang some karaoke and showed the girls and the kid, and Graydon, that no reason to be embarrassed or shy, and go up there and fucking rock out. So it was a good time last night. I had a great time. I'm not a big Christmas guy, but things like that stuff is fun to me, and I'm glad that everybody had a great time. But speaking of, my kids, we'll get into some U Sports, and then we'll start kind of driving through the show. U Sports last weekend, Graydon's first wrestling tournament. Technically, he had 2 matches and won both. His first match was a dual format, so one squad versus another squad, even though there was like 8 different squads there, competing. You're only going up against one other squad at the time, and then you get into an open wrestling format where you can just wrestle whoever. The squad that they were going against did not have anybody in Graydon's weight class. So Graydon walked out there, got his hand raised. He won his very first match by default, because he didn't have anybody to fucking wrestle. Not exactly what I wanted. I wanted to see him go out there and compete.
Yeah.
But
you don't want just a default win.
No, but he did find an opponent. during the open wrestling competition, and did great work, man. Got his first win. He made a goal for himself. He wants to get, at least one pin every 2 meets. First match ever, pin the kid, got the win. So shout out, G, love you, dude. Great job, working your ass off so far with wrestling, and it paid off. So we got another one tomorrow, hence the Saturday show. But I'm excited to go watch him wrestle some more, watch him, maybe have a little more competition and see where he progresses. I'm going to be trying to do more note cards and study up because I got finals next week. But once he starts wrestling, I'll be fucking locked in on that. But pumped that he was able to do that.
Very cool. Congrats to him, and hopefully he can keep up the good work, and hopefully no more of those default wins, because that's just it's not really a win.
That's not a win. It's you just showed up. That's not winning. But he actually did, when he did finally wrestle, he got a win. So that's good. Other news out here, kind of local wise, the Cleveland State women's basketball team. You guys know that I have been calling games for the Cleveland State women's team on ESPN Plus. I'm the color commentary guy, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. And it's been easier to do because those girls are fucking awesome. They are just beating the absolute piss out of everybody they run into. They are on an 8-game win streak. Their last 4 wins have been by 20 plus points. They're currently on a 7-game road trip. Game 1 was yesterday. They beat the shit out of Central Michigan by 20 plus points. They got a long way to go. I will not get to call another game until January. Beginning of January, they will be back inside the Wolstein Center, and I'll have another opportunity to call some more games. I was very lucky. I got to sit down with Coach Kielsmeyer, do a little interview with him, kind of get his take on what he's looking for on this long-ass road trip. He's looking for the girls to be mentally tough. Obviously, anytime you're away for a long time, that's what you're looking for, changing schedules. And there's potential that we could have some Cleveland State women's basketball players on this program. They're going through some things right now with compliance between the university and the NCAA, making sure that they should be good to come on the show. Assuming all of that comes back, your boys are going to be start doing some interviews with some Division I athletes and a group of girls that right now look like they're fucking rolling and have a legit shot to make it into the tournament at the end of the year. They are very, very good. They were ranked the 14th best mid-major program in the country as of, I want to say, last week. I think that number is only climbing. 68 teams get into the tournament. There's only 25 ranked top teams. So if you're 14th as the one of the best mid-majors, I think you got a fucking shot. So I'm pumped for that, man.
That's very cool, man. Yeah, that'd be really cool to have some college athletes on the show, and especially if they're tournament bound. That's even more cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they got a shot. Obviously, long way to go in the season. We're talking about March basketball here in fucking December. Still, they're still working on getting better as a group, but I'm very excited for that. You got any local stuff going on in your area that we want to cover before we start diving into games for the week, other national sports news?
No, not really that I'm tracking. I'm sure there's plenty of local sports stuff going on, but I'm not really tracking much of it, so nothing on my end.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and start kind of diving into some of the other sports. Guys, if you're joining us, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. If you got us and Army Navy on, even better, because we have the Army Navy game up as well. I got that over here on one screen. I got you guys on the other. And yeah, so I'm very pumped for that game. We're gonna have some breaks in here where we talk about some of the things we're seeing on that. So go Army, beat Navy. I'm gonna say that fucking probably 100 times a day. But
if you keep seeing me looking over to the side, it's because I got the game up over on my second monitor now.
All right, so we're going to dive into fucking baseball because shit got wild over the week. We were kind of waiting. This is the hot stove time, right? Winter meetings happen. This is where a lot of big time free agents kind of start to fall. But I don't know that we've ever seen this much money spent in this quick amount of time in the world of Major League Baseball. The big news, the one that everybody was waiting on, anticipating, trying to find out where this guy was going to go. Aaron Judge resigns with the Yankees. That stinks. I mean, I'm sure Yankees fans are happy. If they were not able to re-sign him, Cashman probably would have been fired. But they get a deal done, 9-year, $360 million. It is a big contract, but is it that big? We were talking about this before the show started, Evo. Like, people are talking about possibly that they overpaid Aaron Judge. You were on the opposite side of that.
Yeah, it's a 9-year deal and what, 360 million, something like that.
9-year, 360 for a $40 million a year average.
Yeah, and I kind of assumed that it was going to be closer to whatever the total years was, closer to 500 million personally, just because I'm not as in tune with the baseball contracts and stuff like that. And so I immediately looked towards the NFL and what major contracts are like over there. And when you see a Pat Mahomes a couple years ago getting a 10-year, $500 million deal, I was thinking, okay, that could be more in line with what you're looking at for Judge. And like you kind of brought up, he's a little bit older and things like that. It still is an average of 40 mil per year for a guy that, you know, by the end of that contract is going to be pretty well aged. Yeah. So it is interesting. I mean, obviously he's one of the best players in baseball. So he's going to get a huge deal, and you know, 40 mil a year is nothing to scoff at.
No, 40 mil is nothing to frown about. Now, 40 million a year is not astronomical in baseball numbers. Like, we have seen some guys go over 40, especially pitchers. Pitchers used to dominate the fucking free agency market and just get shitloads of money. We saw a couple guys get big time money on much shorter deals because they're a little older in the pitching department. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I don't think this is an astronomical deal. I think it is around maybe a little under where he deserves based on the things that this man can do, because Aaron Judge is a ungodly hitter. Like, you don't see guys this big who hit balls as hard as he does, hit for the average that he does, especially in the landscape of where baseball is now. He is a fucking unicorn. The fact that you can hit 62 home runs and you can still bat over 300. That shit does not happen. He plays really good defense. Now, that defense is going to fall off. By the time we're at the end of this 9-year deal, if we see Aaron Judge still playing out in the outfield, I would be very surprised. But everybody is now going to the universal DH. So he's going to be able to make all of this money worth it, because he's going to be in a lot of chases that are going to bring in tickets to the Yankees organization, and make fans want to show up. That chase for 500, that's probably going to come. I don't know if he'll get the 600. That's a lot of fucking home runs from where he is now to get to, but that would be a massive thing that he starts chasing as a Yankee, the team that's, renowned for having all these big name guys who go for these records. I remember when they did this back with A-Rod. They tried to recoup some of their money because of his chase. Chasing the home runs was tied into the contract as bonuses, but he got dinged up for PEDs. So that kind of takes away from the luster. Aaron Judge is not on PEDs. He is just a fucking stallion of a man. He is 6'7", 280 pounds, and has excellent hand-eye coordination. He is exactly what you want. I think this number is great. It maybe is a little under. I don't think they overpaid him by any means. I was kind of hoping that he wasn't going back to the Yankees.
I honestly didn't expect him to leave personally. Like you said, it would be a big issue for Cashman if he
he'd be fucking fired immediately. Because the deal that was originally offered was 7-year, 216, and this absolutely dwarfs the original contract, which was offered by Cashman. And he's kind of screwed up the entire negotiating process by making things public when Aaron Judge is not that kind of guy.
Definitely. But yeah, a lot of deals went down though. Not just him. It was what I think ESPN is reporting, $1.6 billion in dollars moved around so far this offseason.
Yeah, $1.6 billion is a fucking ridiculous amount of money that got shelled out. And some of those other big names that were signed up from the last time we talked, Clayton Kershaw 1-year deal, $20 million. Back to the Dodgers. That's exactly the way it should be. Kershaw should never pitch anywhere but the Dodgers. As soon as they stop paying him, he should retire. That he is a Dodger. He will always be a Dodger. He should not play anywhere else. I'm glad he's still sticking around and they brought him back, though. Elsewhere, pitching wise, and this is where I'm talking about, that $40 million a year is not that high. Justin Verlander signs 2-year, $86 million contract with the Mets because they lost fucking DeGrom. So they got to replace him. So they're willing to pay Justin Verlander, a guy who is coming back off of injury. He had a Cy Young year, $43 million a year average, 86 over 2. That's crazy money. It's great for Verlander. I'm glad he's no longer in Houston. Fuck Houston. I got no ill will against the Mets. But like those kind of contracts are not unnormal in that $40+ million a year range. Let's see what else we got here. Trey Turner, also huge fucking deal. Now this one feels like it's a little excessive to me. I love Trey Turner. I think Trey Turner is great. He gives you position versatility. He's a great leadoff guy. Fucking fast as shit. Steals bases. But 11 years, $300 million. This deal is going to take him over until when he's 40. And this is a guy who a lot of his game is predicated on speed and his ability to move. This is a little tougher for me to sell. 11 years takes him into his age 40 season, and $300 million is a lot of fucking money. Now, Judge's deal is also a lot of fucking money, but Judge doesn't need to be able to run and move the way a Trey Turner does and play shortstop. Aaron Judge plays right field and is going to eventually become a DH. I don't know that we say that about a Trey Turner on an 11-year, $300 million. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's not the same sort of. I mean, Judge. I don't expect the bat to ever go away.
The bat speed will go, but I don't know that the power is going anywhere.
Yeah, and Trey Turner, not that he's bad. It's just he's not Judge when it comes to batting. So
no, he's absolutely not. Like I'm gonna say probably in about 5-6 years, this deal starts becoming a big problem. It's gonna be like a poison pill fucking contract because they're not gonna be able to get out of it. And Trey Turner is gonna be really good for quite some time, 5-6 years, 11 years. I don't know if he makes it all the way there, but if you're a Trey Turner, you're fucking hanging on for dear life. You're taking every goddamn penny of that. Any
absolutely.
Chance you can be on the roster, you're gonna be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, that's Trey Turner's deal. My Guardians get a big signing in our eyes. I think he was a mid-tier free agent, but Josh Bell, switch hitting first baseman, comes to the Guardians on a 2-year contract. That's fucking great. It allows some versatility. We will not have to see Josh Naylor take at bats against lefties, hopefully, because that was a big, big problem. And he brings some pop. So I love that for us. I was not sure what we were going to do. I don't know that we're done. We are still possibly looking at another outfielder or a catcher, and we got a shitload of prospects that we got to figure out if we're getting rid of them or if we're going to play them and move some other guys like Ahmed Rosario. So let's see. Other big ones.
Nothing for my Twinkies, really.
No, I wasn't expecting it. Here we go. Xander Bogaerts gets a 11-year, $280 million deal. That's a very good deal. 11 years seems a little long. Xander is a year or two younger than Trey Turner. So it makes sense that 11 years, 280. My question, though, is the fact that he's going to the Padres, right? Xander Bogaerts is a shortstop by trade. The Padres have a shortstop and a guy who can fill in at shortstop. But their superstar is Fernando Tatis Jr., who plays shortstop, can be moved around, though. If you're in the Fernando Tatis camp, does this worry you that they have now gone after 2 guys to play shortstop? You are going to be suspended for at least the first 20 games of next season because of your PED use, and you have already lost some sponsorship deals and things like that. Now your team is bringing in a guy who can directly compete against you at your natural position.
If I'm Tatis, no, I don't think I'm worried personally. And I see my signal might be dropping.
Yeah, mine keeps coming in and out too.
So
Today's a tough show.
if you lose me, I understand. But if I'm him, I'm not worried. If you're playing for the Padres, you're getting the money. It doesn't matter where he plays, he's getting the money. That's both positionally or team. Like if something happens where they end up moving him, he doesn't care. He's still going to be making crazy money. But it makes sense for the Padres to have not that great of a drop off or anything like that at shortstop in the beginning of the year, and then I think those guys will have positional flexibility enough in the infield where it's just like, okay, let's add more talent. When Tatis is back, we just have more and more talent on that team. But if he's really worried about like losing his spot on that team, I don't think that's that much of a worry, because worst case, they use him as a trade chip and he goes somewhere and he's still going to be making a bankroll. So when you're talking about the amount of money and talent that he has, there isn't a ton to be worried about.
All right. And then I think there was one more. Yeah. So this one, I'm excited for this one. We've already talked about the Mets adding some people. They spend some more money. They go out and they re-sign Brandon Nimmo, 8-year, $162 million. Now, why do I care about the Mets, and then why am I excited about this signing? Because I know the Nimmo family. Brandon Nimmo is the younger brother of Bryce Nimmo. I played football in high school with Bryce, where he's also from Wyoming. Bryce, Brandon, that whole group. Dean, a guy that we played fantasy baseball with, is also a commenter on the show sometimes. He played with Bryce as well at the Post 6. So big shout out for Brandon Nimmo going out and getting an absolute fucking bag and, making good on all the talent that he had. Coming from that small city there in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I love that shit, man. Like it's really cool being like, I almost know that guy. Like I don't know Brandon. I know Bryce. We played together. Brandon was a little bit younger. Brandon, I was well gone by the time he was getting ready to graduate high school, and he went to fucking East anyways. Our rival high school. He went to a different high school. So, but yeah, it's super cool. I'm glad for him and kind of putting those Wyoming athletes on the map.
Yeah, it's always cool when you have those like very short degrees of separation from immense talent. You like to see guys from local hometown area do well. It's always been the case for me. Like I said, I played football against James Laurinaitis, who's a big time linebacker for Ohio State and then in the NFL.
It's literally his jersey right there.
Yeah. He 20 minutes away, played high school and, got to play against him and things like that. Seeing guys like that, do well from the local area is always exciting.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it in terms of baseball. I don't got any other big ones yet. We talked about DeGrom already getting the fucking bag from the Rangers. I still don't know why you go to the Rangers other than the money, but you got anything else baseball wise? We're going to fucking get there. We're going to get there. I promise you.
I've seen this sitting here. And don't worry, Roberto Grussolini. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Anything else baseball wise?
No, I'm good, brother.
All right, so we're going to move over into college football now. So college football, we got some college football going on right now. Navy currently driving on Army. Army has made some good plays, but they have not been consistent yet on that defensive side of the ball. Got Navy in a fucking 3rd and 12, though. Navy not going to be great at throwing the ball. None of the academies are great at throwing the ball. Maybe Air Force a little bit, but let's go Army, beat Navy. Interesting story. Obviously we're both Army veterans, but the Army was not my first thing that I was thinking about. I actually wanted to join the Air Force. Went on a visit to the Air Force Academy. Was it my junior year of high school? Me, my buddy Garrett, and Blake, who has recently found out that we do this show. We all got to go down there. Blake's dad was not his dad. Blake's uncle worked down there at the Air Force Academy. So we got to go in, do a campus visit, check out the cathedral, fly some flight simulators, go walk the stadium. It's super cool. The Air Force Academy is badass. However, I don't think there was any chance I was getting in. Blake did not get in either, and none of us got in. Blake did become a pilot, though. Garrett works as an air traffic controller down in Dallas, Fort Worth. I ended up flying drones, so there's that cool little connection. Now I'm a college student who does this and watches football games on TV. But go Army, beat Navy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about what the important shit is going on in college football, though. Ohio State's going into the fucking playoffs. Shit got wild. Are you surprised that it shaked out the way it did? Now, we talked about USC going down and how that could really vault Ohio State up, but TCU also loses on the weekend. But TCU doesn't drop. Ohio State just slides up in the fourth. Is there any legitimate argument for the teams down at 5-6, like in Alabama, to be upset that they did not get in when a TCU loses and stays at 3 and Ohio State just slides up?
I mean, I thought it was closer to maybe 50-50 whether or not Ohio State made it back in or not. Like, it made sense why they would, and there could be a solid argument why they wouldn't. I think it's more so if you're fans of those certain teams, those fan bases, they've got decent arguments to an extent. And of course, they're always going to be salty about not making it in.
Well, as somebody who is not a fan of any of those teams, I have a biased fucking opinion. Ohio State definitely should have got it.
Yeah.
But as somebody who is not a fan of any one of those specific teams, how do you feel about it? Because I know fuck Alabama, Ohio State definitely should have got in.
I'm not upset. I'm a fan of parity, so not seeing the Alabamas and stuff like that in there is kind of nice. But like I said, I think that if I were to pick a side of any one of those teams, I could make a solid argument one way or the other for all of them. So I think that it just gives more reason why we need an expanded playoff system, because you do have realistically, we could say at least 6 teams that makes sense to be in the college football playoff, and then some. So when you have as many teams in college football as you do, the bigger the playoffs, the better. It just makes more sense. So having it down to 4, you're always going to have a couple teams that maybe should have been in and just aren't going to make it. Like I said, I can make an argument for the guys that didn't make it in, and I can make an argument for the ones that did make it in. It's really, I don't want to say a toss-up, but there's good arguments either way. So I'm not disappointed by any means with the way that the college football playoff shook out. But I understand why some of those teams like in Alabama and whatnot might be upset and thinking that they should have at least gotten more consideration.
Yeah, fuck them. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited, man. Ohio State facing Georgia is going to be a fucking tough game. That is, Georgia's the best team in the country. I guess maybe we can make the argument that Michigan has shown that they're the best team in the country. They beat a number 3 team. But they don't have the same feel that Georgia team does. No. Georgia, I think, is the best team in the country. And if we find a way to knock them off, I'm going to be ecstatic. But if we find a way to beat Georgia, I want fucking Michigan to win. I want another shot at Michigan, and I want the game to be what everybody watches for a national title, because that is the best rivalry in sports.
I think that would be the most exciting championship game.
Yeah. Like if we get a Georgia and a Michigan, it'll be fine. I don't know if anybody wants to watch a Georgia TCU matchup or Ohio State TCU. Like, TCU is a good fucking team. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Max Duggan just won the Davey O'Brien Award for the best quarterback in the country. Like, they are a legit squad. But I don't know if anybody is excited because they're not a big brand like that. But if you get an Ohio State, Michigan, the game, national championship, fucking, I'm going to go need to take a shower because I'm just going to be fucking spewing goo all over the place.
I would expect nothing less from you if Ohio State is able to get there into the championship and be going up against a rival. I mean, that's what you want. You want a championship game with the 2 best teams, but you also like to have that sort of rivalry, which just adds an extra layer on top of it.
Yeah.
And
I think
it's great for the program too, obviously, if your team makes it there.
100%. So. Good for the program.
Yep.
All right. Anything else college football wise? I don't know if Army is going to be able to fucking move the ball, man.
It is still 0-0 with 6:50 left in the first there for the Army Navy game. So
this is what you get though when you watch these academy games. You get a lot of wing tee. I mean, I'm very surprised. Oh, never mind. I was going to be surprised. I was very surprised that Army lined up in the shotgun there, looking like they were going to throw it. Nah, just kidding. We're on a QB draw.
Oh yeah.
That's what we're going to see. Like that's what we see in the academy games. I wish that they would modernize some of the offense, but it's tough when you can't recruit the level of athlete that some of these other programs can get. The wing tee is an easier offense to run.
Yeah. That's for anyone that doesn't understand it. That's what the service academies are, is they are not just taking recruits in, they're taking guys who also are signing service contracts.
Yeah. So you're in the fucking Army or the Navy.
So you know that, for the most part, if you go play for one of these teams, you don't have a NFL career right away. If you have aspirations for that, and the best players in college football want to go play in the NFL, makes sense. So they're going to go to any other school, lower tier schools, Division II. It sometimes they have aspirations to go play in the NFL, and very rarely will you see those sorts of like pardons allowed where a player can go play in the NFL.
2 or 3, I think, that we've seen now in the last decade, but those are still very, very rare.
Like the Vikings had a long snapper that they got okayed for a little bit, and then we ended up cutting him. So he just went into his,
as soon as you get cut, your ass is in the fucking Army now.
Yeah. I mean, the more likely story is that you go do a short service contract, in the military, like Villanueva, the tackle, who I believe is for the Ravens now, or
so he should be on the Ravens now. Long time Pittsburgh Steeler though.
Yeah, where he was a captain and stuff like that, but after he got out of the military, went and played NFL. So that's more likely to happen. But at that point, obviously age becomes a bit of a different factor and whatnot, and military obviously has its own kind of wear and tear on your body. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah. So I had always heard a rumor that the guys on the football team for the Army squad still had to make height weight requirements or pass tape.
I believe that there is, to some extent. Yes, it might be a little bit loosened, but I believe that they do still have to. And
that's tough on your big boys up front.
It's really tough. I mean, so for those of you who don't know, you do have a height and weight requirement in the military. And if you, let's say, I don't remember what it is, something like, we'll say if you're 6 foot, you got to be like 200 pounds or something like that. And if you're over 200 pounds, you've broken height and weight. But then they have a tape test, which is an antiquated, shitty test to see if your body proportions look correct to be in the military. Which some of these things are slowly changing in the military, because they understand that people have different body shapes and different body styles. Because if you have like a gigantic neck, you can have a huge belly in comparison
this guy
to other
right
people.
Here, baby.
So
17 plus inch neck.
So the bigger your neck the bigger your belly can be. So for certain guys on, we'll say like the offensive line or defensive line, if they're working out a lot of shoulders and stuff like that, that's going to be building up neck muscles, making their neck bigger, and then they can end up having a bigger belly. So they could be, and they're already tall, which allows them to have more weight and stuff like that. So it's just, you aren't able to get the ginormous monsters that you do on other teams. You can still have big dudes, but they are limited to an extent.
Oh man, that was an interesting flea flicker that Navy just ran. I've never seen one run out of the wing T offense like that. But yeah, so everything you said, 100% right. That's why Army had struggled, I thought, for quite some time. Maybe they've loosened it up, even though, I mean, neither one of the academies is going to be great. I think Air Force is probably has the best record over the last 10, 20 years. But we're not dealing with Air Force. We're dealing with Army Navy. However, we're going to get off of college football. I got nothing else college football, and we'll have some cut-ins as shit goes on. You got anything else?
No, sir. I'm ready to pop on over to the NFL.
All right, let's fucking do it. So last week for me was a tough week. I did not enjoy the way my picks went. I was very, very close on a lot of
It
games.
wasn't great for either of us. I barely
but
made it 500 or over 500 on my picks, but easily one of our worst weeks probably of the year.
yeah, it was not good. Let me pull this thing up here. I'm sure it's open. Share the screen. All right, so yeah, this was not great. For the week, I went 5, 9, and 1. It was atrocious. You went 8 and 7. So Bills, we hit that. We started out good, and then it just went down fucking hill. Falcons, no chance. Bears played a close game ish for a minute, and then nope. Giants, fucking tie. What the hell? Come on, man. Like,
Yeah,
I get a fucking
always hate
push
the
on
tie.
them. God damn it, man. You hit on that one because you took the points. Ties on a money line or a push that sucked. Titans didn't show up at all. Ravens did what they had to do. Seahawks, nope, could not do what they needed to do. Miami, I don't. What was the? Did I miss that there?
I was gonna say 49ers money line. The 49ers won.
That is a green. So you got
now
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I got it. Oh no, you got 9 and 6 then.
all right. I just pulled that up because the 49ers won 33-17. I was like, wait a tick.
Yeah, you're right. 9 and 6. Let me update this as well.
I feel a little bit better now.
115, 78, and 2.
It's crazy how one game makes you feel a lot better about.
Yeah, 9 and 6 looks a lot
hit.
better than fucking 8 and 7 does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Cowboys great. Saints, yes. The Jets, I thought were going to cover for a little bit, and then you guys were able to get shit done.
Look, we'll talk about it more, but realistically, the Jets should have won that game. It's a Braxton Berrios hold on to the ball, and Jets win.
Yeah.
So, is what it is there.
Yeah, and then I actually got to move this stuff over real quick because the week we thought was going to go great, like this upcoming week. I needed a big bounce back. We had a fucking layup on Thursday night. And
so we thought.
It was not a layup at all. So I went Raiders minus the 6.5. You go Raiders money line. And then they're both going fucking red because Baker goddamn Mayfield decided to show up and ball out. What the fuck? Give me my color. Showed up and balled out. It did not start out great, but for a guy coming off of learning an offense in 48 hours, I don't know how much we can truly expect to see there. It was insane that he was able to make that comeback. This 9 and 6 looks good for you. 5, 9 and 1. I apologize, everybody. You're either hot or you're due. I was hot. Now I'm due. But the Raiders did not help the week. I thought the Raiders were starting to click on all cylinders. The offense looked stale again. I don't understand why after they had been riding so high. And they find a way to lose this fucking thing. So we had Roberto Mussolini's comment earlier. Baker greater than Watson. Based off their last 2 games, Baker played better than Deshaun Watson did. No doubt. No doubt. Does that mean that this is the wrong? People made the wrong decisions, right decisions? I don't think so. It's wild. Baker is a guy who was perpetually not able to close those late game drives. Didn't have that clutch factor that people were yearning for here in Cleveland. Goes out 98 yards, 90 seconds. No fucking timeouts. Now, he was helped by a couple of penalties, one of
Yeah.
which I thought was deserved, one of which was not. But regardless, the refs missed countless penalties in this game, all of which were on the right tackle holding Max Crosby on every single fucking play.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of talk, even, not just from some people who are fans of the show, like Joe Rockstar and stuff, talking about the holding penalties. But I mean, I've seen it on national media as well, how there were missed holding penalties and things like that. The officiating in this game wasn't very good.
There
But
was
at the end of the
assault on Max Crosby on a couple of occasions.
yeah, at the end of the day, it's kind of crazy still to think that you have a guy being picked up off the street without really a practice. You have like 2 days, walkthroughs. The guy, how he's able to learn what's going on, or he's probably being told to play in the headset. And then you have McVay also being like, oh, by the way, this is like your X receiver's doing this, your Y receiver's doing this, or it's a run to the right or something like that, or a pitch to the right, things like that. Or the guys in the huddle are probably like, hey, Baker, real quick, this is also what's going on type thing. Like,
by the way, I'm your hot on this fucking call.
Yeah. It's pretty insane that you have Baker going in and he's throwing to guys in Ben Skoranek and Tutu Atwell, both made up names from a Japanese Famicom baseball game, which, if you don't get that reference, back in 1994, there's a Japanese Famicom baseball game called Fighting Baseball, released in Japan. They didn't have the rights to the MLB at the time. When it did come to the US, it was MLBPA baseball, and they did have the rights. But I'm going to bring something up here real quick. This is the Famicom baseball game. So you've got, these are the names. They had to create American-ish names from when they didn't have the rights. So you've got Sleeve McDykel and Anatoly Smorin and Bobson Dugnut.
Anatoly, that guy is definitely Italian.
Yeah, I like the Todd Gonzalez and the Mike Hernandez. We need relatively Hispanic names, but not completely. Mike Truck, But my favorite of it is Sleeve McDykel. So Sleeve McDykel could have been one of those receivers out there with Tutu Atwell and Ben Skoranek. You just don't know, right? These all seem like made up names that he's out here throwing to, and they get it done for the most. I mean, Van Jefferson had himself a decent game,
caught the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, so it's impressive that Baker's able to go out there and do that. But as impressive as it is for him to go out and do that, it's just more of an indictment on his Raiders
team. Fucking Raiders.
Yeah, it's, man, I don't know. McDaniels, that's the other meme going around, is McDaniels now has lost to a Baker Mayfield led team where he was there for 2 days, and a guy who, head coach who
only coached high school football.
He was working for ESPN the week before. So it's very, very embarrassing. Very embarrassing for that Raider team.
Raiders fans want him gone. I believe Raiders players probably want him gone a little bit, and it's not going to happen. They can't. They don't have any fucking money. It's something that we've talked about in the past. They're fucking cash poor because the Raiders are not this crazy independently wealthy family like that. Yeah, it sucks for them. However, I gotta tell you, it was hilarious seeing all of the memes and all of the shit that came out, because they tricked us. They said that they had kind of proven over the last 3 weeks this offense can go. Like, we can move the ball, we can do these things. We are better than. We just needed some time to gel. That was a fucking lie. That is not what they are. They are bad because I think their coaching staff is bad because they are incredibly fucking talented.
Yeah,
they are incredibly talented.
I had a little bit of back and forth with a buddy of mine, Hector, who used to serve within the Army down in Fort Huachuca. He lives up in Phoenix now. He's a big Raiders fan, and I was like, I think you guys would have been better sticking with Bisaccia. And he's not necessarily sure that they would have done better with Bisaccia from the sounds of it. He wasn't a huge Bisaccia fan, but I think whether or not Bisaccia was whether or not he was the answer, I think that he was better for the team in the short term.
100%. Mike McDaniels is not Mike. Josh McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels.
Yeah. Josh McDaniels is really good at calling an offense in a certain program, in a certain script that Bill Belichick kind of lays out for him. And this is kind of what we're going to do. This is our game plan for the week. You call the plays inside of there. Every time that we have seen him out on his own, the offense is stagnant because he's not bringing over in his system. He's bringing over elements of Bill Belichick, but they don't run the normal standard. Like Bill Belichick changes shit every fucking week. You don't know what you're going to see week in and week out.
And I think that's one of the biggest things is that what makes Belichick such a good coach is he's a defensive guy, right? But you see a lot of times where and we'll bring this up here, or I'll talk about it here in a little bit, but like the Lions, they fired their defensive backs coach on October 31st, and now he is an offensive coach or consultant for the Packers. So a defensive guy going to the offensive side. There's a lot of benefit in that because if you have, say, a supreme defensive guy like a Bill Belichick, he's able to understand what's going on with offenses and how offenses try to attack his defense, so on and so forth. So if he's able to, as the head coach, say, okay, this is the other team's defense and this is their issues, and this is
how we attack this defense, because I know how this defense runs.
If I was their defense, this is how I'd attack our offense. Then he's able to guide the game plan for the week for his own offense. McDaniels is going in there just running an offense, and I don't think that he understands the concept. And this is speaking pretty bad for a guy who is a professional coach, and I'm just a nobody. But it just is not working. Like, it doesn't seem like he is able to prepare like Belichick is able to prepare and use his skill set to read both the offense and the defense. I don't know. This is me grasping at straws. It's just not working out for this Raiders.
Well, don't worry. The fucking Raiders are doing the same thing, man. They're grasping at straws as well because they find a rhythm and then they lose a rhythm to a team that's really fucking bad in the Rams. They're not good. They don't even have all of their best defensive players on the field.
Their best defensive player in Aaron Donald, not out there.
No, not out there.
And let's be real. The best part of the Vegas team right now is Josh Jacobs with Devontae Adams right behind him, right? Jacobs is held to 99 yards, which is still a pretty damn good day.
Only
3.7 yards per carry.
27 carries.
Yes.
Yeah.
And only 2 catches for 15 yards. Devontae only getting 3 receptions on 7 targets. I mean, Jalen Ramsey and him were going up against it, and everyone's seeing that one catch where Jalen has his hand over top of Devontae's eyes. Devontae had already made the catch by then. No discredit to Devontae; it was a one-handed catch. It was a good catch, but only 3 catches for 71 yards. You got to be pumping the ball to your main guy more if you're going to be passing like that. Otherwise, you got to figure out how to get the running game working better because 27 carries, only getting 99 yards. I was expecting plenty more from Josh Jacobs in this game for a depleted
especially
Rams
from a
defense.
Rams team that has not been a very good. Fuck.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was expecting more from this team that the Rams have not been great. They have not been good at stopping the ball, especially if you don't have fucking Aaron Donald on the field. How do you not run the ball down their throat?
Yeah, it was pretty surprising for me, to say the least.
He almost had that.
But I mean, credit to what Baker was able to go out there and do. Credit to the Rams to go out there and do what they were going to do. I don't.
Is Skoranek a dude? Is Skoranek a dude? Is he going to be like a top tier 2 here pretty soon?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Because
he's getting a lot of volume because of the injuries?
Volume play right now. I like Tutu Atwell a little bit better, honestly. He's a tiny guy who does well at tiny guy things in general. But Skoranek is always, to me, he's that tall white guy 3, a possession type of receiver who is a nice complementary piece as a number 3. I don't expect him to achieve number 2 levels on a normal team where you actually have a solid number 1 in Cup and a solid number 2, which should have been Allen Robinson. But
it's not.
Yeah, it is definitely a situation, in my opinion, that Skoranek is getting volume because you just have Jags out there. You've got that Famicom baseball team out there. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, credit to the Rams. That was an unexpected win. I mean, 16-17, it's still a pretty damn close game, and it took, late game, special magic to make that win
Heroics.
happen.
Baker Mayfield heroics. He's kind of got a flair for it. He proved that when he came in the very first game against the Jets here in Cleveland. We've seen him somehow drag that team to the playoffs. Maybe even in spite of Baker, actually. So, I mean, we've seen Baker do some really fun things.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that goes in the legacy. And I got to tell you, he never had a chance in Carolina. No. I mean, imagine the coaching scenario.
So that is part of the thing is I definitely have given Baker a fair amount of shit, and I think a lot of people have.
Yeah.
But you look at his resume, and he's had everything going against him for a long time. It was him going to arguably one of the worst teams in football in the Browns, and within a couple of years being a part of that turnaround, taking them to the playoffs, winning a playoff game, things like that. And then last year, you can say what you want, but
the injury played a huge factor.
He was injured, and him going to a Carolina team, which was a doomed team, again, it kind of set him back.
Fired their fucking head coach mid-season.
It was setting him back to where he was in the beginning of his career, being the number 1 overall pick, going to a terrible team in the Browns, and now he's going to a terrible team in the Panthers, who has fired everyone, having a fire sale on their players and stuff like that. It was a extreme uphill battle for him to be anything good there. The Rams are also in the grave right now. They are bad right now, for sure. And I don't know if they're going to be great going forward, but when you get a Cooper Kupp back, when you get a Donald maybe coming back, if they are able to fix that offensive line a little bit, it makes the situation a little bit better. The problem is that Baker, whether or not he's there next year, is completely up in the air, because at the end of this year, he is a free agent.
Yeah.
So
there's a potential that he comes back. McVay likes him. McVay has said great things about him being there. He talked highly about him when he was coming out. McVay is a really good coach. We have seen him do some really special things with quarterbacks that are maybe not great, a la Jared Goff. And there is a very real possibility that we have seen the end of Matthew Stafford.
I could see Stafford considering retirement.
I don't think that that's something that people are talking about, because Stafford, just won a Super Bowl. He's been beat up, but Stafford has played a lot of football, and now he's got the feather in his cap. He's got the fucking Super Bowl. I think there's a very, very real possibility that we have seen the last of Matthew Stafford.
I think that we could see an extreme turnover on this Rams team, to be completely honest. I think McVay could, if Stafford's like, okay, I'm going to retire, on that offense, you have Cooper Kupp, right?
Yep.
That's the name. So the offense is very depleted. All right. Defense, Donald, he was ready to walk away last year until they threw a bag at him.
Yeah.
I could see him calling it a career. So Donald, Stafford, McVay could all leave. McVay's got that TV contract. I could see them all going. Raheem Morris would be the next guy that I think would step in as the head coach there. But if they are doing all that, I think Raheem's like, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and look at options as a head coach, because he was looked at a lot as a head coach this offseason. Mm-hmm. So I could see him stepping away. And then that defense, you're left with Jalen Ramsey, who has not looked good this year.
No. And that's not an appealing job, if you ask me. You have no picks. You have no future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sold your soul. And I think the Rams could be going through a very tough next couple of years if that all ends up happening. And I think there's a decent likelihood that it could.
Yeah. So if McVay comes back, I could see Baker coming back. I could see him stick around as a backup, maybe. Cause I don't know if you're Baker Mayfield, do you really want to go bounce around free agency and go to a team that needs a quarterback bad enough to give you a contract?
That's where I think Baker, even if he has a outstanding, last 5 whatever games,
weeks, whatever fucking how many are left.
If he does really well, I don't think that propels him into starting quarterback talk, other than for a team that is in transition.
That's very bad. And if you're Baker Mayfield, you don't take that job. You try to stick with the Rams, stick with McVay, and wait for Stafford to actually call it quits if it's not this year.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me if I'm Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's a lot for a Thursday night game. You want to get into?
Yeah, we had a lot of shit to cover on that Thursday night. It was fucking wild, and of course, the picks didn't hit.
It was definitely interesting. All right. So moving into week 14 here, This is our last week of bye weeks, and we have a bunch of teams on bye. We have the Falcons, Bears, Packers, Colts, Saints, and Commanders all on bye this week. And we will start, that this is where you'll actually see records start to line up now that everyone has had a bye week, and we can get some cool assessments going on there based on records at the end of this week. But with that, we can go ahead and start off with our first game. A very interesting game, in my opinion. Jets and the Bills being played at home for Buffalo. The line right now on ESPN and Caesars is Buffalo -10, over under of 43. These teams already played each other once this year, and the Jets were able to win that one.
Yeah, so the Jets were able to win that one. So it makes me very interested in what's going to happen in this game, because here's the thing. This is a very different Jets team now with Mike White starting at quarterback. Okay. The Jets won the last game in spite of Zach Wilson. They won because Josh Allen made some really boneheaded fucking decisions. All right. The Jets defense is legit. They are very fucking good. I think that will be the thing that keeps them in playoff contention, potentially a playoff team. But the fact that Mike White is playing in this game, I feel like it gives the Jets a better chance. There is a 42% chance of snow in this game starting at 1 o'clock. That also lends itself to the running game. Neither one of these teams have a great running game, with the loss of Breece Hall for the Jets, and the Bills still are just kind of, it's a hodgepodge. And then you have Josh Allen, who goes out there and will do whatever the fuck he has to do because he's a man's man. 10 is too much. I expect that the Bills will win this game, but 10 is entirely too much. It's so much so that I'm taking the Jets plus the points in a cold, crappy game. Give me a really good defense that the Jets have to keep it somewhat close and cover the 10. At worst, I think I get a push here.
So the Jets, they're 2-0 straight up again as a 7 or more point underdog this year. Those 2 wins were versus Green Bay and Buffalo. Allen in that first game, he had a 46.8 passer rating, just a terrible game for him versus the Jets. It was a 2017 loss there in week 9. The Jets, they're averaging 26.5 points per game with Mike White in there. Previous to that, they were averaging 19.9. With other quarterbacks in there
than Zach Wilson. Makes sense.
Yep. And the thing with Mike White, and I got to experience this last week, is he's a fun quarterback. He's got moxie, but he is, I'm not going to compare him.
A little too much moxie.
I'm not going to compare him to Brett Favre, but one of the issues with Brett Favre was that the guy was a gunslinger. He'd go out there just throwing the ball all over the fucking place. He'd also threw the most interceptions in NFL history. Mike White had multiple picks in the game versus the Vikings. Only 2 of them were actually intercepted, but there should have been more. So he's going to give the ball up some. It's a boomer bust type of guy with Mike White. But he definitely makes that offense work better. I'm also taking the 10 points for the Jets. I think that this game, it's a divisional game. It's going to be closer than you would expect. And the Jets were able to show that before. It'll be interesting again to see how Sauce Gardner does going up against a Stephon Diggs. Thing with Gardner is that he does not follow the top receiver. He stays on his side, so that, it's not going to be completely Gardner versus Diggs, just like last week. It wasn't just Jefferson versus Gardner. So I like the way that the Jets are playing. I think that they're actually a pretty solid team. I think that they keep this closer. It's definitely closer to a touchdown or less type of game. So the 10 points makes sense to me. I'll take the Jets plus 10.
Yeah. Now on Sauce, do you think it's a matter of time before he becomes Sauce Island and follows a guy around? Or do you think he's going to be one of those guys that continues, to just hold to his side, like a la we just saw him on Thursday night, announcer now, Richard Sherman.
I don't know that we have a Sauce
There's not a
Island. I don't
no, like a Revis Island, former Jets corner.
Yeah. I don't think that's the type of defense that Robert Saleh runs. I don't know that he ends up having his top cornerback follow the top receiver. You have DJ Reed on that team as well, who is a pretty solid cornerback. He's had a very good year. And when you have two very good cornerbacks, you rather than allowing the offense to dictate what your defense does and where your players go, I think that Robert Saleh likes to just have a stout defense where it's tough to play against them regardless. So I honestly, I'd say Sauce Gardner is probably the best cornerback in the league right now. I'm willing to put that out there. As a rookie, I think he's the best cornerback in the league, and his stats show that. Maybe they're different if he does follow around the best receivers, but at the end of the day, the guy is allowing next to nothing out there.
This is a guy I want to bring up, a guy that I was championing in the pre-draft process, that he was easily the best defensive back, probably the best defensive player. I wasn't sure if he was going to be the best player, but I was high on Sauce, and then you took him for your defensive rookie of the year. Like, we have been on Sauce for quite some time. The kid is special.
I don't even think he's just going to be the defensive rookie of the year. I think he's the rookie of the year at this point.
Well, so they break them up. There's going to be an offensive rookie.
But I mean, if we had to choose,
if you had to pick one, just the best rookie, he's the guy.
When you're talking about the best defensive back in the league, best cornerback, possibly, without talking about how long they've been in the league, of course he's a defensive rookie of the year, and I think that he's defensive player of the year type, season right now.
Yeah. So did Darrell Revis did Revis ever get a defensive player of the year award?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Man, because I don't know if there has been a corner that has kind of done this young in his career that has locked people up like this since probably a Darrell Revis. Like, we have seen some really good fucking corners. Jalen Ramsey was really good early in his career, even his rookie year. He wasn't this good. Sauce is the fucking truth. Like, he is so unbelievable. His length alone changes the way that he can play you.
I would wish that the Vikings would have sold the draft to move up and get him at this point, like that sort of quality player in Sauce. So congrats to the Jets on that. I mean, they got a hell of a fucking dude. But we can move on from there. Next game is the Texans and Cowboys in Arlington. This is our largest point spread of the year.
Is Dallas 45. If it's not 45, then
no. The over under is 44. Dallas minus 17.
I can't take 17. 17's too much. I can justify it because the Texans are so bad. One of the worst defenses in football, and the Cleveland Browns scored 2 defensive touchdowns, and they got a fucking special teams touchdown last week.
Yep. Now, Davis Mills is going to be starting again in this game. He's been named the starter again. Not that it makes a big difference between him and Kyle Allen. The Cowboys
I do think that Davis Mills is better than Kyle Allen, but I don't know that he's that much better.
Yeah. Now, the Cowboys, they have been putting up a lot of points recently. Okay. So they put up the most points per game in a 5-game span in team history. They're averaging 39.8 points per game in a 5-game span. A big part of that goes towards their blowout versus the Vikings. And a big part of that goes towards their fourth quarter last week, where they put up 33 points, which is more than your top scoring team. So the top scoring team on average this year is Kansas City. They're averaging 29.2 points per game. Dallas was able to put that up in 1 quarter. All right. That's unsustainable.
Yeah.
Even what Dallas is doing, like I said, they're putting up, where's my note here? They're putting up 39.8 points per game in the last 5 games. That's an unsustainable amount of points for an NFL offense, typically, going up against NFL defenses. But the Texans, they are just a bad team. They're pretty damn bad. This is one where I'm actually, and I feel weird about, I'm taking the Texans plus 17. We're talking about 3 scores versus an NFL team. I think the Cowboys absolutely could completely throttle the Texans, but the Texans have played way closer than they should have in some of these games. And I'm sure the Cowboys aren't paying them a ton of attention. They are focused at this point on playoffs and the rest of their record, trying to be able to at least tie with the Philly Eagles and stuff there in the NFC. I think that they kind of just expect to win, which the Cowboys are absolutely going to win this game. The easy pick is just the Cowboys money line. And realistically, that's what I should be taking, and I hope that's what you're taking.
It's exactly what I'm taking based on my week last. That's going 5 and fucking 9-1 or whatever the hell, some astronomically shitty record. I'm taking the Cowboys money line because.
But I mean, you look last week.
Dunk.
The Colts are not a great team either. The Colts were there with them until the fourth quarter. It was a close game until the fourth quarter. So I even feel dirty doing this, but I'm going to take the Texans plus the 17 because I think this is too ridiculous of a spread. We're getting into college football spreads there. So I'll take the Texans plus 17, and I'm going to regret it.
Cowboys money line. It's the easiest pick of the week. I can't do the 17. I got to build the record back up after last week. There's no doubt. Like, the Cowboys are pretty goddamn good. They have excellent pass rush. The Texans don't have a great offensive line. They don't have a good quarterback. They have one guy in Brandon Cooks who may or may not play. And we've kind of seen no, I just forgot.
Fuck it. I'm going Cowboys money line. I can't do it, man. I can't do it. I can't put any sort of money on tech. I'm not putting money on this, but I can't pick the Texans. I'm just Cowboys money line.
I thought for sure I was getting a game back there because I feel like they could beat the 17. I feel like they can, but I am not willing to put the money on it.
I'm this close. I'm this close, man, but I just can't do it. Every fiber in my body is telling me, you fucking idiot. Don't do that. The Cowboys money line. All right, next game. We have the Jaguars and the Titans being played in Nashville. The line is Tennessee minus 3.5, over under of 41. Tennessee, they've won 5 straight versus Jacksonville with an average margin of victory of 16.8 points. So they really have had the number of this Jacksonville Jaguars team. A Jaguars team that probably had their worst game of the year last week versus the Lions. The Lions did not punt once. They scored on every drive against Jacksonville.
And we're going to have some things to say about the Lions later.
Lawrence was a little bit banged up and whatnot, but still just an embarrassing game. I don't expect it to be that sort of a game. Jacksonville has lost 22 of their last 23 road games. They're not good on the road. That's got to change at some point in time, and I expect Doug Peterson to fix that. But on the flip side, the Titans, they have been struggling the past 2 games as well. Derrick Henry is averaging 34 rushing yards per game over the last 2 games. That's 2.4 yards per attempt during this 2-game losing streak for the Titans. So they also not looking very good. I do think the Titans are probably a better team here than the Jaguars, but I kind of expect the Jaguars to maybe bounce back a little bit. This is another one that the stats and stuff that I have don't make a whole lot of sense. For the pick that I'm going to be making, but I'm going to take the Jaguars plus the points here. I think the Jaguars make a little bit of a bounce back. Like I said, I think that they are a good team. I think they're ascending. I think last week, a little bit more fluky of a performance from them, along with Lawrence being hurt. I'm going to go ahead and take the Jaguars plus the points. The Titans don't excite me right now, other than Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry gets going, and look, in 2 of their last 4 meetings, Derrick Henry's gone for over 200 yards.
Yeah.
So if Derrick Henry gets going, it's donezo for them. But I'll take the Jaguars plus the points. I think this could be a little bit of a closer game. I do still think that the Titans will win, but we'll see.
Yeah, so I'm going the exact opposite. I'm taking Titans minus the 3.5. I don't think they're as bad as we saw them play against Philly. And you brought it up. Derrick Henry's 2 of the last 4. He's gone over 200. He's gone, I want to say, over $130 in all 4 of those games. And he kind of feasts on that Jaguars team. I expect him to kind of right the ship and get things going. They are a good team. They are not the number 1 seed like we saw last year, where they can kind of impose their will. But I think they are a far better team than what we saw last week. And I think they're far better than the Jags as well. Now, the Lions are riding a goddamn heater right now. So maybe that played a factor. I've been up and down with the Jags, and I'm kind of off the Jags now, thinking that they're going to be a surprise, like they're going to sneak up on people. And I've taken them so many times, and they have burned me. Like every fucking time I bet against them, they win. Every time I bet for them, they lose. And I'm done. I'm staying. I'm not doing shit with the Jaguars other than picking them to lose, especially against a team that I think is actually pretty good. Derrick Henry toasts them. So I'm Titans minus. You still got it at 3.5, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Titans minus 3.5 there.
Alrighty. Next one, a big divisional matchup. Eagles and the Giants being played in New York. The line is currently Philly minus 7 points, over under of 45. So Eagles are now tied for their best start, 12-game start in franchise history. Giants, after starting off 6-1 this season, they're 1-3-1 with that tie last week. Philadelphia is 5-0 straight up on road games this season, but they're actually 1-4 against the spread on road games as well. This being a divisional game, I do expect it to be closer. The Giants, they are not a very talented team, but they're a scrappy team. What they've done up there is pretty good with the new head coach GM combo. I think this is another one. I don't feel as confident about this game as I did when the Commanders played the Eagles, but I do think this is one that actually the Giants could keep it relatively close against a Philly team that is probably, top 2, top 3 in the NFL right now. The Eagles are still having some injury issues. Robert Quinn is now down. So that's going to hurt them a little bit. And I think they've had some closer games than they should have, obviously here recently with that spread issue that they're having. So I think that the Giants have a potential of winning this game, but I do think that they actually just keep it close regardless. Philly probably wins, but I'm going to take the Giants plus the 7 points in this one. I think that they could keep it there close. Like I said, divisional game, cold outdoors. You're going to see a lot of Saquon, who has had a little bit of a lull here recently as well. I think that this game could be a 4-point game, maybe 5-point game, closer than it's expected. So I'm going Giants plus the points.
Yeah, so I agree. This will be closer than the 7. The Giants have been up and down. Like they came out really hot. We're like, oh my god, where is this Giants team? And we gave a ton of credit to Dayball, that he absolutely deserves. But they have kind of fallen back to earth a little bit. Philly had their little time where they had a lull. They lose a game, and then they have started to kind of figure it out. Their defensive line has started to play much better, stopping the run. We saw that with the fucking Titans game they had last week. They were able to stop Derrick Henry. And this game is expected to be a little cold and a little rainy. So the team that plays really good defense and can run the ball well is going to have a better chance in this game. For me, that's Philly. Philly plays better defense, and they run the ball better than the Giants do. Saquon is having a resurgent year that he absolutely needed, but the team as a whole is kind of devoid of options outside of Saquon, whereas you do not have that problem in Philly. They have a ton of weapons and a fantastic ground game, only bolstered by their quarterback, who is, in my opinion right now, probably the MVP of the league based on where he was and what we expected of the Eagles to where they are right now. Jalen Hurts has had an amazing fucking year. So I'm going with the Eagles, but I'm not going to take them to cover because it's a little cold, it's a little rainy, and it's a divisional game. I'm going to go Eagles on the money line.
All righty. Next one, we have the Ravens and the Steelers being played in Pittsburgh. Line is Pittsburgh -2, over under of 36.5. Lamar Jackson not playing.
Out.
He's out. All right. And I think that's what's really affecting this line. Now, the Steelers, they've been playing better. I mean, not great. Nothing that gives me a whole lot of confidence, but Pickett has looked better. He's won 3 of the last 4, no turnovers. He is getting a better rapport with Pickens, who I think in the next year, that's going to be a solid combo, plus Deontay Johnson there. This rivalry, though, is definitely a big one in the NFL. That's a rivalry that's only separated by 1 point in the Tomlin era. Pittsburgh has 681 points. The Ravens have 680. So it's a pretty hard-fought rivalry. Huntley, he's 3-1 as a starter when he played as a starter last year. He's a guy that, I mean, we've talked about with Lamar. I think that the Ravens, even though it won't happen, their best bet would honestly be to trade Lamar Jackson for a bag and go with a more traditional quarterback like a Huntley. But again, I don't think it's going to happen. And then
a more traditional guy who can also beat you with his legs in Huntley, which works exactly with their offense.
Yep. But they've definitely had a lot of offensive issues this year with that Ravens team, regardless of who's playing quarterback. Though they were able to still go out there and get the win last week.
Yep. And they get a guy back in J.K. Dobbins this week who can help bolster that running game. Now, he's not going to be a huge factor in this game, in my opinion, but he gives them another option in that backfield that they desperately needed.
And then the other thing with Pittsburgh is that they do have TJ Watt still playing. He's back from that pec injury. With TJ Watt, they're 4-1 this year. Without him, they're 1-6. I mean, it just makes a big difference on their defense whether or not he's playing, even if he's not playing phenomenal, because I do still think that he is injured. That is not an easy injury to come back from that pec one. That's usually out for the season when you have a pec injury like that. So this one is probably going to be a pretty close game, in my opinion. I'm not sold on the Steelers. But I'm not sold on the Ravens either. Their offense is just terrible. I'm not really sure where to go with this one, honestly. This is way closer to a pick for me.
I can go first. For me, I think that Tyler Huntley is kind of a guy. I think he is going to find a way to make his way as a starter at some point in the NFL. I think he has the skills that you need. He is a little bit better with his arm than Lamar is, but he's not nearly as dynamic with his feet, while still giving you that element to break the pocket and do some really exciting things. The Steelers' offense still, while getting better, while Kenny Pickett is improving, I don't know that a division rivalry game is going to really play out in Kenny Pickett's favor. I think that the fact that the Ravens are getting points is surprising. I could see a pick 'em, but I would have expected the line to be flipped. Ravens minus the 2. I'm not there on Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett has done good things. I just cannot see it. Now, I think it's interesting that the money line for Baltimore is only plus 110. I think that is a little bit of a hedge by Vegas. I would expect we'll probably see a lot of money on the Ravens side, and that's where my money would go this week. I'm taking the Ravens to win outright. I'm taking the Ravens money line on the plus 110 as opposed to taking the extra points, the minus 110. Give me a little bit better odds for a team that I think is better. Their record is better, and I'm not convinced that Huntley is really any of a downgrade from Lamar. So I'm going Ravens money line.
And I'm going to go Ravens plus the points, just because I feel like this is way more of a toss up to me. So I'll take the team getting the points, just to kind of hedge the bets a little bit.
All right.
Our next game, we have the Chiefs and the Broncos. So that's going to be fun in Denver. Kansas City -9, over under of 44. Pat Mahomes, he is 9-0 in his career versus Denver. KC, again, like I kind of brought up earlier, they are averaging 29.2 points per game, which is first in the NFL, whereas Denver is averaging 13.8 points per game, which is the worst in the NFL. Denver is absolutely atrocious, man.
They're awful. They're so bad.
I'm just taking Kansas City money line. I don't like Broncos got a decent defense, but the Chiefs are just a better team. They absolutely could cover this 9 points. I'm not even going to fool around with it, though. Just Kansas City money line for me.
Yeah, there's nothing. This game doesn't need a ton of analysis. Denver's really bad. Kansas City's really fucking good. Denver can't score. The Chiefs can. I don't know if the Broncos defense can really keep them off the board. Like the Broncos are scoring, you said 13 something points a game.
Broncos are averaging 13.8 points per game, which is again worse than the NFL. And look, Russell Wilson is cooked. That coaching staff is cooked. Russell Wilson in Seattle when he was younger, his best stuff was when he got outside of the pocket because he's a shorter dude, being able to see over the line, make things happen. And he had a pretty decent arm to do that. His arm is not the same. He is not mobile anymore. He is not moving outside of the pocket. This needs to be something that other quarterbacks built in his mold, a la Kyler Murray, need to, GMs need to be aware of, coaches need to be aware of, players need to be aware of. Kyler, we already see this. If he stays in the pocket, he's terrible. If he goes out of the pocket and makes things happen, that's where he is good. That's where Russell used to be good. Except for Russell isn't doing that anymore because he just doesn't have it anymore.
He doesn't have the juice, and I don't think that the offense is designed to help him with that at all either.
Yep, and that we're seeing it quicker with Kyler. I mean, Kyler's still got the youth and athleticism for it. Offense isn't built for him. It's just not there for the Broncos.
I'm going to regret doing this.
No, don't take the Broncos. What's the points?
I'm taking the Chiefs to cover.
Ugh.
Chiefs -9.
The Chiefs team that doesn't like to cover, right?
The Chiefs team that doesn't like to cover is going to cover because the Broncos are so fucking bad. I understand it's a divisional game. It should be closer. I do not know how Broncos fans are like, you know what? Maybe we got to. No, you don't have a chance. It's over. That's it. You have already cut a guy who started at running back, traded away your best pass rusher, and there are more changes coming to this team in the offseason. I would be very surprised if we don't see Hackett get fired before the end of the offseason, just so they can get a jump start. Yeah,
honestly, I think that this is it. I would be more willing to put money on Hackett being fired after this game than I would be willing to put on the game itself.
Yeah,
quite honestly,
I'm doing it. I'm taking Chiefs -9. It's a huge spread. We've done one already. We're taking the Jets +10, both of us. I'm gonna do it again. I know I shouldn't do this because my record was dog shit last week. I feel it in my bones that the Broncos are done. This is the game this is the final straw that breaks the camel's back. They are going to fold, and I am kind of there with you. I think this might be Hackett's last game because they're definitely going to lose, and I think there's a chance that they get blown out.
All right, next game we have the Buccaneers and the 49ers. This is going to be a fun one for Joe Rockstar if he's still watching. In Santa Clara, the line is San Francisco -3.5, over under of 37. Now, Tom Brady had some late game spectaculars again that Tom Brady likes to do, and he's able to go out there and get that win. But this is a Shanahan team that is now being led by the man, the myth, the legend, Brock Purdy.
Brock fucking Purdy,
Mr. Irrelevant himself, right? So Shanahan, he is 9-29 without Garoppolo as the starter since being there for the 49ers. But Tampa Bay, they're 1-8-1 against the spread in the past 10 games. That's the worst in the NFL. And the San Francisco defense is just playing fucking lights out, all right? They are allowing 15.8 points per game this year, 283.9 yards per game this year, and 75.6 rushing yards per game this year. Those are all number one in their respective categories for defenses. This defense is just playing lights out. The offense, loaded with talent.
They have my pick probably for defensive player of the year, and Nick Bosa.
Right, Bosa's definitely up there.
It's him and Parsons. Those are the only two guys that I'm even considering right now as the defensive player of the year. Myles Garrett, I agree, should be up there, but based on the record, he's not going to be.
Don't dare say Purdy versus Brady. Well, just said it, bud.
It is Purdy versus Brady, but it's not. That's
I'm
not what
not
this game
worried
is
about
about
that.
at all. It is the 49ers defense against a really bad offense led by Tom Brady and the Buccaneers.
Yes.
They are still not good. The Browns were able to stifle that offense, and we have a really bad fucking defense. The Niners have probably the best defense in the league by damn near every metric that Evo just read off.
Yeah. Look,
For me, this is a fucking slam dunk Niners cover.
yeah, I got Niners covering as well. I got Niners
easy.
covering as well. I am out on the Broncos, or excuse me, on the Buccaneers. I'm out of the Broncos.
We're
too,
also on the Broncos. Yeah.
But I'm out on the Buccaneers. That was pretty spectacular of the Buccaneers to be able to get that win versus the Saints last week. Where I thought the Saints were they're not great, but I bet we got Joe Rockstar calling in. But look, I like Purdy. I do. I think that he's solid
Joe
for this team.
Rockstar.
And they got too much offensive talent where he just gets to sit back and be a manager.
Yeah. Joe Rockstar, what's up, brother? You are on with the Lineman Lounge. What you got for us?
I might have missed whatever you guys said past. I just said it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was dialing
It's okay.
in.
So I will give you a recap. We are both taking the Niners to cover. This is not a Brock Purdy versus Tom Brady conversation. This is a best defense in the NFL against one of a very not good offense in the Buccaneers. We're both taking Niners to cover here.
What was it? 3.5 points?
3.5.
Okay. I would take that too. I'm not a better though. I never bet. Did you know that?
I did not. You should. Don't follow my picks last week.
Anyways, no, man, this whole national media thing about Purdy versus Brady is just driving me nuts. And just hearing professional sports analysts say the words one quarterback versus another quarterback drives me up the freaking wall. No quarterback ever plays another quarterback. They don't play the same defense, and they're not responsible for what the other defense does or what their defense does, you know? Drives me nuts.
I agree with you there, Joe, and I think Evo would probably be on the same page.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
anyways, what do you guys think about little Brock Purdy?
Listen, Brock did some okay things when he had to. There's a reason he was drafted where he was, though. I think Kyle has the ability with his offense to hide a quarterback who maybe does not have the greatest skill set, a la a Jimmy G. Like Jimmy G has done some really good things in the NFL, but he's not that guy. He's not a world beater. He's not a franchise guy, in my opinion. But we have seen Kyle and that offense be very efficient with that style of quarterback, and I think they can do the exact same fucking thing with Brock Purdy.
I think so too, honestly. But I mean, we know why he was drafted where he was drafted, because he's not a running quarterback. Not that athletic, run around, strong, big guy. He's a small guy.
Does not have a big arm either. Not a ton of arm talent. He's got enough to make most of the throws. I don't know if he can make every throw though. But
yeah, no, I agree. But I see the parallels where people start talking about, oh, that's how it was with Brady, blah, 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 blah. I don't agree that that's what's going on here. I think this is more of like a Kurt Warner story too kind of thing.
Well, I mean, if Brock Purdy turns out to be fucking Kurt Warner, then they're going to have another quarterback issue next year when they're trying to figure out Brock Purdy or Trey Lance.
You know, I want it to happen only because I'm so against drafting quarterbacks for physical attributes over
the ability to play.
Experienced guys. Smart, mature, and ability. You know, there's more to it than just physical traits.
Absolutely, trust me, I get that, and that is the exact reason when we started doing our pre-draft stuff, I was so far out on Zach Wilson. You know, all that long while ago, Zach Wilson does really special things, and he has a ton of arm talent, like physically. However, give me the guy that does the simple things right over the guy that does the spectacular things really good. Like, I just want a guy who can go out there and run my fucking offense.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff why Jimmy Garoppolo has such a good win-loss record. Maybe he doesn't pass the eye test as a quarterback throwing the ball, but he does the simple things consistently good, you know?
Yeah, I
absolutely agree. With good weapons.
Yeah, the weapons help.
Honestly, yeah, this is this is more about a 49ers defense. I'll agree there, but I also think that Brock Purdy surrounded with the offensive weapons he needs to not screw up too bad. He will screw up, but not screw up so bad that it can't be fixed.
All right. I think we're all riding the same boat here.
All right, guys.
All right, brother. Hey, well, we appreciate you calling in. Hang out for the rest of the show. We're gonna get into some interesting takes when we get to Evo's team for sure. Because the line this week is just it's so fun to talk about. But all right, brother.
All right, well, give Evo a hug and a kiss for me since I can't hear him.
Yeah, it's all right. He wasn't talking. He was waiting because he's going to give his analysis, I think, after, since we can't figure out the technology.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you next time.
All right, brother. Bye.
See ya. Yeah. So I'm in agreement. So if anything, for me, this game isn't. Brock Purdy is not that drastically far off from what Jimmy Garoppolo does. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have the best arm. He doesn't have the legs, all that stuff. He's able to manage a game with a lot of very talented offensive guys around him. That's all Brock Purdy has to do is manage the game and get the ball to all the talent around him. He doesn't have to.
Yeah, because they have a fuckload of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
he doesn't have
tight
to be
end,
special.
the safety blanket for a quarterback is probably the second best tight end in the league. I know there's an argument for number one. I would put Kelsey over Kittle, but at worst, I think he's two. You have Deebo Samuel, who is an absolute fucking weapon. He can do everything on a football field. CMC, who is also one of those guys, very much like a Deebo, who can do damn near everything on a football field. And Brandon Ayuk has had a fantastic year because he's been able to get the ball in space and go to work. Like, that's all Brock has to do.
Yeah. When you get into a game where you have to ask Brock Purdy to really put the team on his shoulders, that's where you might end up seeing your issue. And maybe he surprises us all. But in this game, you don't have to do that. It's the same thing if you have to put Jimmy Garoppolo, have him put the team on his shoulders, that's when you're going to run into some possible issues. But you don't have to do that for the most part when you have that much talent on the offense. Purdy's just going to be able to go out there, run the offense, get the ball to those guys that need it, and it'll make it happen. Honestly, some of the throws and stuff that he made last week were surprising to me how well he did. So I think that's probably, like, I think the 49ers were a top 3 team probably in the NFC before Garoppolo got hurt. This drops them a little bit, but we'll see it with time.
Top 5 still. They're going to win that division.
They're a playoff team for sure. And how far they go will be how much they have to put it on Purdy's shoulders. But in this game, you ain't got to put it on his shoulders.
Now, how long is Jimmy G out? Because I've seen a couple of different reports.
It is not like a broke foot or anything like that. Doesn't necessarily need a surgery.
Not a Liz Frank.
He can come back in the playoffs potentially.
Right.
If needed.
And I don't think the Niners are a team that are going to go out and look for a replacement outside of Brock Purdy. I'm not sure how many replacements there are out there right now because you cannot make a trade and who's going to get cut. The only guy that I could even foresee possibly being cut and be available would be a Jameis Winston. But I don't know that that's going to happen either.
Yeah, I don't think they'll cut Jameis.
Yeah,
it's I if I'm them, just keep rolling with Purdy. You got Josh Johnson as a player on the team now as well. Just roll with it. I think Purdy will be perfectly fine.
Yeah, they're good enough to win this week. I think they're good enough to cover. Yeah, he'll be pretty good.
All right. All right. Next game, we have the Panthers and the Seahawks being played in Seattle. Line is Seattle -3.5, over under of 44.5. This is a Seattle team that has kind of struggled a little bit lately. Kenneth Walker is now out. Their defense, despite having those good rookie corners, defense has not looked as good lately. They made the Rams offense look decent when they played them last week. But Carolina has lost 9 straight on the road. Seattle has failed to cover in 3 straight, and Carolina has covered in 3 straight and 5 out of their past 6. But at the end of the day, I mean, Geno, even over their bad past couple games, he's still looked good. It's been mostly the defense not looking as great. I still got Seattle win this game. 3.5 points, maybe just because they're struggling is a bit too much for me. So I'm just going to take the Seahawks money line. But I still think the Seahawks are a pretty solid team. Geno's doing well. If their defense figures out and gets a little bit more back towards what they were doing in the beginning of the year, then this will be the 3.5 points or more. But yeah, for me, it's Seahawks money line.
I'm actually going to drop the points here. I got Seahawks minus the 3.5. I think that they are a far better team. And honestly, how bad is Carolina? We just watched Baker Mayfield get off that team, go to a Rams squad, have 2 days in the offense, and is able to lead a comeback drive. And nobody had any illusions that that was possible with the Carolina Panthers. So how bad is this squad? I don't think that either one of the quarterbacks that they are potentially going to play. I still think it's going to be Darnold this week. Does not excite me. They're not good. They've had a resurgence in the run game a little bit, but I'm not there. I can't get behind the cover. I think that Seattle is probably a touchdown better than Carolina, and I'm going to bet it. I know this is trying to get that record back up, but I just feel that Seattle is far superior to this Carolina team. 3.5 seems easy. I think this is a touchdown game. So I'm going to ride it. I'm going to go Seahawks minus 3.5.
I'm generally in agreement with you. It's just because Seattle's had a couple struggles recently.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not taking the spread there. Next game, Dolphins and Chargers being played in California. The line is Miami -3, over under of 53.5.
Fucking points.
This is a lot of points there. This is a Chargers team that, despite having a 6-6 record, I expected them to be a lot better.
Yeah.
I think Brandon Staley is not doing any favors for Herbert. So the interesting thing is 2020, Tua was a 5th overall pick. Herbert was a 6th overall pick. You look at their records, Tua is 21-10. Herbert is 21-23. All right. Herbert, I think, has it. It would be interesting if those picks were flip-flopped. How do you think Herbert would be doing in this Mike McDaniel's offense?
Oh God,
Miami,
he'd be fucking
with
killing
Waddle and Tyreek.
with his arm and the ability to stretch the field. It would be crazy to watch a Jalen Waddle and a Tyreek Hill with Herbert at the helm, because Herbert, for all the good things that he has done, has struggled at times, and his weapons have made that part of it because they're never consistently on the fucking field. Mike Williams is banged up every year. I know he's playing this week.
He's probably going to be
banged
on
up all the time. How much rapport are they going to have? Obviously, they've been together for a while now, but that makes a difference. And that Chargers defense is beat the fuck up. Derwin James out in this game. That's a huge factor considering who they're playing this week and guys that you get the ball in their hands and can make fucking people miss. I do not feel good about this Chargers team. I expected them to be so much better, and they are not there. They are just not there. And this Dolphins team has surprised me, and I will eat crow on that. Tua's played great when he's been healthy.
I mean, he's having arguably an MVP season. I think that he is probably top 3 in MVP votes right now.
Yeah, he's been really fucking good.
Jalen Hurts, Mahomes, and then you could sprinkle in a little Justin Jefferson in there.
Yeah.
There's actually been talks of that. Of him being top 5 in MVP votes. So
maybe 5, but as a receiver, it's hard to get your ass up there. Yeah. This game, to me, it screams Dolphins. I believe that the Dolphins are a better team right now, especially with the injuries. And like you said, the coaching out in not San Diego, in LA for the Chargers has kind of hindered them. Something that we've talked about in the past is analytics are good, But if you do too much analytics, it can be a detriment to your team. And that has continued to rear its ugly fucking head for this Chargers team. It's the Dolphins for me, and I'm going to drop the points. I got Miami -3 in this one.
And I'm in the same boat, man. I like the Chargers. I think that this game is going to be a very high-scoring game, but I do think that the Dolphins are going to be able to outpace the Chargers just because the Chargers' defense, not that great. I think this is Brandon Staley. He's probably going to be let go at the end of the year. I don't think it'll be in season, but I think that when they don't make the playoffs, this will be it for Brandon Staley, and I'm actually hoping for him to come be the DC in Minnesota. That'd be great. They got that Nick Bay connection.
Are you going with the money line? Are you taking you dropping the
Miami
points,
-3.
Yeah.
Miami -3 on this one.
All right. What do we got next?
Next up we have, and by the way, it should be a pretty good Sunday night game there. I'm expecting that to be a good one.
Yeah.
Next up we have Monday night, Patriots and the Cardinals being played in Glendale. The line is New England -1.5, over under of 43.5.
This I don't like this game because I don't like the Patriots. But what I don't like more are the Cardinals. They have not clicked at all. They have been scuffling all season. They have had some internal turmoil with the coaching staff and Kyler. But I'm not sure that the Patriots are really that much better than this team outside of Bill Belichick. Talent-wise, I think they're very even. Maybe the Cardinals are even a little bit better talent-wise. But Bill Belichick is just so fucking good. It's hard to bet against Bill. I don't know that the Patriots can win this game, though. This is one that I have struggled with kind of back and forth. I have thought about Arizona money line a couple of times. That feels like it might be the right play just because the odds help a lot in that. But where are you at on this game?
So New England in their past 2 games, they're 0-2 straight up and against the spread. They haven't played very well. Obviously, the Vikings were one of those games. But Arizona, they have lost 10 of their last 11 games at home in Phoenix. They don't play good at home, which is fucking wild. All right. But Mac Jones also not been playing very good. In his past 15 starts, he's thrown 16 touchdowns and had 16 turnovers as well. Not very good. I don't like either of these teams in this game. But the Patriots, they have more to fight for. They are close enough to being in the playoffs. They got more to fight for. The Cardinals are basically fucking done. I like the talent on the Cardinals better, on their offense in particular. But I just think they're just too dysfunctional right now to make it work, and I really want to see them have a turnover there at head coach. So I'm going to be going Patriots on this one. I'm just going to do Patriots money line, though. I'm not willing to take the points because I think both teams are just kind of reeling right now. I just think the Patriots have enough to fight for that Belichick will be able to pull it out of those guys and get a win. But the 43.5, I think that this could be an under game. I'm seeing like a 14-20 type of game here.
Fuck. Yeah, the Cardinals are bad at home. You know what? I'm going Cardinals on the money line. I feel like this has got to be a game that they win, because if it's not, there are very serious conversations about Tyler not being the guy and buyer's remorse on the new contract and Cliff Kingsbury being fired. Now, this is something that we've talked about a lot. I think that they can find a way to win this fucking game because neither one of these teams are great. Betting against Bill, I will probably live to regret this thing next week. I got that gut feeling. Fucking Mama Carlisle's even in here. Taking Arizona. I'm doing it. I'm going Cardinals on the money line. This is an outlier. But neither one of these teams are very good. I'm going Cardinals.
All righty. Well, it takes us back in time to our early game. The Colts are not playing this week, Roberto Gussolini. He's asking if Kyler is not the guy, what team would trade for him?
Ooh, and then the Colts. That's an interesting option.
Depends on who their new head coach is.
Yeah, because it won't be Jeff Saturday, I don't think.
No, they need a head coach that is going to be able to run a dynamic enough offense to utilize Kyler the correct way.
Because you can't trade him in division to Seattle. That's absolutely not going to happen.
I don't know if the Colts have the draft capital to make it happen realistically.
Who does? Philly? Philly might be the only team that still has draft capital, but they don't want him.
The Lions.
No, but why?
I mean, if they don't want to go with Goff, if I were the Lions, I would take a rookie this year with how high of a pick they're going to have, because they're probably going to have a top 5 pick from the Rams.
Yeah.
I would just go ahead and draft my next guy and let Goff be the interim. But if they wanted to go for Kyler, they could.
Who out there would even consider a Kyler trade? I don't know. I mean, are the Jets really? No, they can't. The Jets couldn't.
Gussolini said Carolina.
Nah, do they? I don't think they have the juice for it, though. I don't think they have the draft capital to go get him after all the fucking bad trades they've made searching for a quarterback over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think Kyler ends up getting traded.
Washington can't do it because
he ends up sticking there for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where he'd go, but like, there's going to be some serious questions of like, man, I think there's going to be some buyer's remorse that we gave Kyler Murray this much fucking money and then totally put him on blast in his contract saying, hey, by the way, you're now the highest paid quarterback in the league. But also you don't study. Like, that was a wild scenario. The Giants. Ooh, maybe. Do you mortgage the farm though to go get a Kyler? That's what it's going to take.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Only time will tell, and we'll definitely go through that here in the off season.
Yeah,
especially once we start seeing coaches and GMs drop, which we did see the Titans GM drop.
Oh yeah, as soon as fucking AJ Brown went off, they're like, you know what, you're fucking fired. You couldn't figure out a deal with this guy. Come on.
Yep. But so we'll jump back in time and look at our team's games. Do you want to do yours or mine first?
I'll go with the Browns first. That's fine.
All righty. So the Browns and the Bengals are going to be playing in Cincy. The line is Cincinnati minus 5.5, over under of 46.5. Joe Burrow, he's 0-4 against Cleveland in his career. They played week 8 since he was favored, and since he lost 32-13, your Brownies took it to him. Now, Watson had his worst passer rating of his entire career in his first game back last week, which was probably to be expected. But they were playing Houston, so you'd have hoped for a little bit more. But he had a passer rating of 53.4, so not that great. And Cincy, they've covered 9 of their past 10. They're 17-3 against the spread in their past 20 games. Cincy is definitely starting to turn it on in the right time of year. And the whole 0-4 against the Browns for Burrow, that's going to end sometime.
Yeah, at some point.
So it might as well be this game. At home in Cincy. I hate to say it. I'm going to take the Bengals money line just because I do think that this game might end up being a little bit closer. But it's money line for me on the Bengals.
And you know what? I'm going with the Browns on the cover. Browns plus the 5.5. Listen, so we've been very good against the Bengals. There's no reason that we should be as good against the Bengals, and Burrow hasn't beaten us. But it's just the way it's worked out. For some reason, we have been winning the Battle of Ohio, and I love it. It's fantastic. It's just hard to envision that the Browns can play the same type of defense they played last week against the Texans, against a really good offense for the Bengals. I don't know that we'll see that level of play. And if Deshaun Watson plays anywhere near the style of play that he played last week, we get blown the fuck out. Deshaun was terrible. He was throwing it to guys who were 10 feet underground. Everything was in the dirt. We talked about there was going to be rust. There's no doubt. 700-day layoff, there's going to be fucking rust. But they were still going to be good enough to beat the Texans. If we haven't knocked off a good 600 days of that fucking rust after one game, we got no shot in this. But I do believe that the Browns will be able to run the ball very effectively against this Bengals defense. That's what keeps this game close for me and allows the Browns to cover the 5.5. Could they win? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I picked the Browns to beat the Bengals earlier in the season because of how we were playing. I still can't pick the Browns to beat the Bengals because I don't know what fucking team is showing up from week to week. Sometimes the defense plays really well. Sometimes they play like the bottom of the barrel, which is where statistically they are for the most part. Sometimes the offense looks good. But I don't know what Deshaun's going to do either. Last week was not encouraging if you're a Browns fan. If you're a big Deshaun Watson fan and truther, then you've got to be eating a little bit of crow this week. Everybody knew he was going to be rusty, but that was the worst game he has ever played, including the first game he has ever played in the fucking NFL. It's hard to envision us winning, so I can't do it. But it is a divisional game. I think that we will be able to run the ball very effectively, keeping it somewhat low scoring, and we can cover the 5.5.
All righty. And then as an update to our Army-Navy game, Army is currently winning at halftime 7-3. So pretty darn close game there.
Yeah. Real
Not
barn burner we got between the academies.
Yep.
I mean, this is the way those games always fucking play out, though. The academy games are never high scoring. This is old school smash mouth football. This is more for just the allure of the game. This is the only college football game really going on this week outside of some FCS games, towards their playoffs. So this is the only show in town. It's a great tradition. I love the Army-Navy game, even though it is probably not the most exciting football. It's more exciting than watching the Broncos offense, but not by a lot.
Yep. All right. So last game of the week, we have the Vikings and the Lions playing in Detroit, divisional matchup there. Detroit is favored -2 points right now with an over-under of 51.5. This is the 5-7 Detroit Lions playing the 10-2 Minnesota Vikings, and Detroit is favored. And
would you like me to go first before you go ahead and give your stats? But I'll give my pick first so you can.
I'm gonna be honest.
Go ham on this.
If I wasn't a fan, I could understand it. I could understand the Lions to an extent. So the Lions' first 7 games this year, they went 1-6. They were averaging 24.7 points per game, and they were giving up 32.1 points per game on defense. Their last 5 games, they are 4-1. They're putting up 28.4 points per game, so about 4 points better on offense, and their defense is only allowing 19.8 points per game, so a hell of a lot better, almost 12 points better on defense. This all basically happened after October 31st, where they let Aubrey Pleasant, or I believe his name is Aubrey Pleasant, their defensive backs coach, they let him go, and they've gotten a lot better on defense. Goff has actually looked way better in those past 5 games, to the point where there's serious conversations in Lions forums and stuff like that. Do we continue forward with him and not worry about taking a quarterback in this draft? XYZ. Which is,
I think I kind of agree with that.
No, I think they got to go for a quarterback and let Goff stay there as the bridge. Let him stay as the bridge.
You got a lot of other needs on that Lions team. I think you go ahead and continue to build around that and let Goff go for at least another year. However, this is a great year to need a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Detroit is the only team worse than the Vikings in the amount of yards that they give up per game in the NFL. Detroit Lions allow 402.2 yards per game. The Vikings allow 398.7. So both defenses, not very good, but both offenses can be very high powered. Minnesota did win their week 3 game versus Detroit 28-24. That was a 14-point comeback by the Vikings in order to win that game. And Detroit currently has the longest active cover streak of 5 games right now in the NFL. Look, Detroit's offense is scary.
Yeah, they're good.
Simple. Amon-Ra St. Brown is playing like a top 10 receiver right now. Their running game has been pretty good. Goff is playing well. Their defense, not good, but playing better. The Vikings offense, when they're clicking, they're clicking. When they're not, they're not. And the defense is that soft Donna Shell defense. They like to give up plenty of yards, but they hold up relatively well. Red zone, like last week, you saw the Jets just kept on having to kick field goals because we weren't letting them score points. I'm taking the Vikings money line because I have to. They're my team. But this game scares me. Detroit at home and the way that they've been playing, they're a good team. The last time that this was a unfavorable line for the Vikings was that Cowboys game. And we got the shit smoked out of us.
Yeah, you got throttled.
We are getting our left tackle back this game, which is going to help for sure. So a little bit healthier on offense. If the Vikings offense is able to continue doing what they've been doing and putting up significant points, I think this is going to be another divisional close game. It's going to come down to the wire. We're talking like last possession wins. If our defense somehow steps up and plays a little bit better, I think we win for sure. If they play like they have been playing, it'll be down to the wire.
Okay, so I'm also, you said money line, right?
Yes, Vikings money line.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. Vikings money line. I think you guys are a better team. The Lions are hot.
Maybe I should just
Jamal
take the Vikings
Williams
plus the points, huh?
No, I'm gonna go money line. I feel like you guys are gonna win this. I want the odds, because this is probably gonna be part of my parlay that I send you. I think they're better. Jamal Williams has been great for the Lions, though. Amon-Ra St. Brown, we thought coming into the year was maybe a number 2 who was getting number 1 volume, so his numbers were pumped up. We were wrong. The man is a number 1. He is legit. He can fucking ball.
That's the other thing with the Lions right now. Okay, so they got DJ Shark back, and he had a revenge game last week versus Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So he's helping stretch the field a little bit. Jameson
Williams is back.
He played like 9 snaps last week. Didn't do anything, but apparently and Detroit is apparently known for this as of this year, according to their beat reporters. They bring guys back from injury very slowly. Jameson Williams, they're slowly working back into this, but in practice, apparently he has been lighting it up.
He's a stud. He is an absolute fucking stallion. There's a reason he was picked in the first round still, knowing that he could not help a team until much later in the season.
Yeah.
He's a stud. He's going to be a factor. I still think you guys are better, though. I would be interested to see if Jameson Williams plays a big role in this game by stretching the field, because you guys already play a soft fucking coverage and allow everything underneath. But I just can't justify the Lions beating the 10 you guys are what, 11-2, 11-3. What?
We're 10-2, and the Lions are 5-7. But they're a better team than 5-7.
I think they are a better team than 5-7. I don't know that they should be favored in this game. I don't know if we're trying to ride that emotional high in Vegas and get people betting on the Lions, but I'm not going to be the guy that does it. I just think that you guys are a better team and you will win this game. The points makes more sense, but this is going to be probably part of my parlay for the week. So I want the fucking odds, because I'm going to hit this shit and fix what the fuck happened last week, because it was terrible. It was not good.
All righty. Well, that's I'm obviously hoping for a Vikings win or a tie in this game locks the division for us. The chances of us getting, because right now we're the 2nd seed, the chances of the Cowboys getting up to the 2nd seed is there, but it's not super high. The Cowboys almost have to win out, and we almost have to lose out. The way that the odds and stuff are, I mean, they do have the tiebreaker on us. I don't expect Philly to give up the 1 spot, but we'll see, because they do play Dallas again. And if they were to take an L this week versus the Giants, that would be huge. But we're talking already that if the Vikings lock up the division, the next couple games for us, we will most likely have home field advantage through most of the playoffs. And we're going to start probably resting some players.
I don't love that going into fantasy fucking playoff time. I need Jay Jettas out there scoring touchdowns, man.
Yeah,
what the fuck?
It's more so for some of the older guys. You're talking about Zadarius Smith and stuff, who has had a lingering knee thing and stuff like that. The format that they've talked about is that the starters won't sit outright. They will play a little bit here and there, but they're going to be very quick to pull them, and let the backups in there a little bit more to try to gain some health advantage going into the playoffs. So we'll see.
I mean, the health is necessary. Being the number 2 seed doesn't do you any good anymore, other than home field advantage until you run into the 1, because you don't get the bye anymore.
And realistically, we only would run into the 1 seed in the championship game.
Championship. So, yeah. I guess that makes sense. I don't love that for my fantasy team, but I mean, I guess it makes sense for you guys.
Yeah. Now, when Justin Jefferson did say, he's like, and this is what's interesting, I guess, to me, is this is the first time that we've played a team again. So we've played all of our divisional opponents once, and now we are seeing the Lions, the Bears, and the Packers here again in these last 5 games. We haven't seen how O'Connell has been able to adjust to a team that they've already played and seen what they've done. So it'll be very interesting to me to see how we approach this game, because we know what our weaknesses are against them. We know what our strengths are against them, and vice versa. How are we going to adjust our game plan? Justin Jefferson alluded to it in a press conference, I believe yesterday or the day before, where he said, hey, I know what they tried to do versus me last time. We know what they tried to do versus me in our offense. We've got some stuff up our sleeve for that. And he's like, that's all I can say. So I love Kevin O'Connell and how he has been a offensive game plan guru for us so far this year. So to see what he's going to be able to do, where he's already seen us play against him once this year, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what he's got up his sleeve.
Oh, God. Oh, sorry. Just watched Army almost fucking throw it. No, pitch it well behind the running back. Great play by the running back to keep that fucking thing from hitting the dirt. It'll be interesting to see. I love what you guys have done. Obviously a big fan of Jettas, especially now that he's on my fantasy team, making me a final playoff push. I am currently in the playoffs in our league because Kohler lost last week as well, just like I did, and I have scored way more points than he has. Second highest scoring offense in the league.
Next to who?
To you. Hey, you know what? All I got to do is get in. I can score the fucking points. So all I got to do is get in.
Yeah, I got a big game this week versus old Joe Rockstar.
I am playing the Busby Bombers. And he is fighting for his playoff life. He's got a good squad. He's scheduled. I'm projected to beat him by like 5 points, so it's going to be close. So I need some high-powered offenses to go off. I'm also going to have to fucking make a move with Kenneth Walker, I think, because he is now officially out. So we'll see what happens there. But I don't want you guys to sit. I want offense. I want offenses to go and ball out during fantasy football playoff time.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see JJ go off for the rest of the year so that we can get above that 2K mark.
Yeah, that'd be super fucking cool. I mean, what's he at right now? Like no, he's not at 14. Is it 12?
He's on pace
13?
to be above 2,000. But if they start sitting him where he has some slower games, he won't make it. So let me pull this up here. Yeah. Stats, season leaders, and receiving leaders. So Justin Jefferson has 1,277. Tyreek has 1,379. Jefferson didn't have a huge game last week, but we got 5 more games left. He's averaging around 120 to 150 per game, I believe.
Okay, so I mean, he's got a chance, man. It'll be tough. Tyreek, who expected Tyreek Hill to just fucking go down to Miami with noodle arm Tua Tagovailoa and just light it the fuck up?
Yeah, so Jefferson's averaging 106.4 yards per game, but he tends to have like a game like last week where he'll get, I think he got like 60 or 70 yards, so not a huge
not a big game for him last week.
But then the ones in between will be like 160, 180 yards type thing. So
love those games. 8 catches, 160 yards on a fucking tud.
Yeah.
30 plus fantasy points out of Jay Jettas. I love when that happens. But
yeah, so hopefully he's able to do that. I would love to see him reach that 2K mark.
All right. We got nothing else, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, we'll wrap this fucking thing up. I got to do some more studying, making note cards for finals next week. That way I'm going in as a straight A student into finals week. We'll see if I come out the same way. But guys, this is the Lineman Lounge. We are a couple of dummy thick idiots who love incoming, bullshitting with each other, talking with you guys. We appreciate all your comments, the call-ins. Joe, appreciate you, brother. And we are everywhere that podcasts can be found. Twitch, or not Twitch. Jesus fucking Christ. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anything that you want to look for. I promise you're going to find the Lineman Lounge on there. If you want to interact with us on socials, we got the Facebook page. Evo is a goddamn meme lord on that Facebook page, as well as constantly giving you updates on all the things that are happening around the country in terms of sports. Twitter, I'm the Twitter guy. We run a lot of stuff on there. TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. Guys, thank you so much. We appreciate everything you do for us. We'll see you guys next week. Go Army, beat Navy. See you.
Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from the Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleep